you're welcome to yet another episode of the Rookie Analyst Microsoft Excel for Personal Data Analysis course series. And today we are going to look at data visualization and reporting. We'll be creating charts and dashboards in Excel. And this is the most interesting part of data analysis that everybody look forward to, creating beautiful charts and dashboards. You know how I would like to do it. Let's dive right in. We have so far learned the basic understanding of data analytics in Excel. We've learned how to navigate our parts in Excel. We've learned how to utilize Excel formulas and functions in order to make calculations or answer specific questions. We've seen how to analyze data with pivot tables. In our most recent lessons, we've learned how to create charts conventionally and as well using pivot charts. So today we are going to put all of this together by creating an interactive dashboard. So let's get started. You are the rookie analyst for Tip Top Taste Restaurants, and your manager wants you to create an interactive dashboard showing some charts and answering some specific questions. So these are the 4 questions that your interactive dashboard should be able to answer. This is the moment that every data analyst like the most, simply because they get to show off what they've done so far. See it as a reward of your hard work. So it's important that you visualize your data in the most appealing way. For me personally, the simpler, the beautiful. So you don't have to use complicated charts or to use complex colors to make your data visualization or your data story appealing to your manager. You like to create a sheet for each of the questions. So here we have 4 questions. The first question, I think using a line chart, since we're talking about trend, will be appropriate. And here we using the Q4 sales, we have 3 different variables, so column charts should be better. So here we have just 2 variables, so use a bar chart. And here is more or less like showing the percentage of something. So a pie chart will be cool. And here at the end of this video, we're going to show you a bonus. Assuming you've already built all your interactive dashboards and you've submitted it to your manager, and then there is a new data that needed to be added. Does that mean you have to start all afresh, or you have to analyze this separately? So we're going to see how you can append this data to the existing data, and then you automatically refresh, and then your dashboards will reflect the new data. You don't have to start afresh. Now, the last sheet you may want to create is your sales dashboard. So most people would like to even add borders to this place, design exactly how it's going to look even before they start analyzing. Okay, slicers will be by the left, by the right. This will be the bigger chart. This is going to be the main chart, and what have you. So, but in this lesson, there'll be no need for that because we have the chance to do that while we are building our dashboards. So the only thing you just have to do here is to insert your logo. That's the company logo, and then more kind of once you come here, you could just use color fill and select the color to fill all of this place, and then arrange it as much as you like, and then insert the logo by just coming over to insert, and then you see pictures. You're going to insert place over cells, or you want it in a cell. Place over cells means you could just have more flexibility over what you've inserted, while place in a cell is just going to appear inside one cell. So let's start visualizing. So these are our data, remember, has already been cleaned because it's the same data set that we used for pivot tables and also to create charts. We've dropped a link to this data set in the description, including all other details you need to know for this visualization. The most easiest way of building interactive dashboard is by using pivot charts, and you can do this by either inserting pivot tables first, and then from pivot table you convert to a pivot chart by using Alt F1, or inserting the charts conventionally. Alternatively, you could just come over to insert, and under the charts tab here in your ribbon, all you need to do is just select pivot chart. Create pivot table in existing sheet. So the first thing you want to answer is the line chart. Is the first question. I want to make use of the line chart, right? So here you need just to do is to select the existing worksheet and then you click here to go to where the worksheet is. So we want to select this line chart here, and then we just want our pivot table and to appear here, and then we click on here back, and then we click on OK, and we're going to have pivot table here, and we have pivot charts here. Now that we've created our pivot table, the next is for us to add fields to our pivot table and also adjust the charts to the line chart that we want. So here we need to just select is the cost, which is the sales. We put it in the values. Remember, measurable or quantifiable fields is what needs to be here. And in pivot tables, columns are called fields. Next is for us to say the question wants us, the manager wants us to show the charts or wants us to just answer the question of sales by month. So the next is for us to just drag our date here to the rows. And the beauty of pivot charts, it automatically split this into months, days, and dates. So all if you don't want, you just click on dates, and then you see the drop down. You could just remove the field here. And then for the days also, we are going to remove the field for the days. And then we're going to have just months remaining. Here we have our pivot table. So another thing you may want to do before you even start visualizing is that you may want to sort this from highest to lowest. Or you may just leave it as it is, maybe January to December, since we want to show the trend from month January to month December. So this is a bar chart, which is not properly showing exactly what we needed to see. So because we want to see the trend, and the bar chart is not really explaining it as much as I would want to as a rookie analyst for Tip Top Taste Restaurant. So I would prefer to use a line chart. So let's change this bar chart to a line chart. All you need to click on this chart and then come over to design. And when you come to design, you can change the chart type. So when we click on the chart type, you're going to see all other charts here in Excel. So we're interested in the line chart. We click on the line chart and then we click on OK. Here we have the line charts appearing. So remember, we have the privilege to either drag this to make it as big as we want, but you have to be careful not to make it look too big or too small, because if it's too small, it's not going to show the exact trend as we want to see. And at the same time, if you show it big, it's made too big, it may not really portray what we want to see. Next is for us to start customizing this. So first is we would like to change the color of this to make it Excel automatic colors. All you need to do is come over here and select automatic, which will make it a bit dark. So if you want to increase the fonts, we could just make this to be 10. So next is we could do the same thing for this as this also automatic, and then we increase this font here to be 10. So next is we want to make adjustment, but you take note here, our values here are not in sum. So all we may want to do is just right click here, and then we're going to change the number format of this. So we want to change our number format, and then we change it to currency, and then it's going to be pounds, and we click on OK, and it automatically reflects here. So now that we've done that, the next thing is for us to start customizing our data. So we want to add a title to this, and at the same time we want to clear all this values here month by date. All we need to do is just right click on this, and then we're going to see, do we want to remove this want to hide all field buttons on charts, or just this particular one that I selected. Let's try and see if we want to hide everything. So we hide everything here, and then it's all gone. Next, we may want to add a title to this chart before we start other formatting. So the next to do this, we can just easily select this, and then we could just type it out, or we can just come over to the formula bar here and just insert this formula to select exactly what we have here, so that the title wouldn't change. So exactly what you have here is what we have here. If this changes, this also changes. So next is for us, you may want to do more formatting to this. So we may add a color field. So we may add color field, just select this here, and we come over here. We know that the Tip Top Hamza likes the blue color. The Tip Top Taste Restaurant is a blue color. So we come over here, and then we could change this to white here. And then we could also make this bold if you want to. And let's leave this as this for now. Next thing is we may want to see how the legend is moving. So we really don't want the grid lines, so we can take the grid lines off. And there are other formatting options for the grid lines, but we just don't want the grid lines at all. If you want to just put just this grid line, or you want it this way, but we want it off in its entirety. Next is that we may want to add a axis title, right? So axis title, but when you look at this, we don't want here, because we don't want to title this because it's already obvious that this is the month. So what would may I want to do is in the axis title, look at this option here, and then you would may want to take out the vertical or the horizontal. In our case, we want to take out the horizontal. So while we have our title here, and we're going to type our title here is going to be sum of sales, for instance. So we just do the same thing here. We make it this big, and then we make our here automatic, and then we have this. So our chart is becoming beautiful, right? So we could even do more things by also adding a trend line here, and then we could even see what color we could give our trend line a particular color if we like. So and then we could also adjust to see the we could also adjust the transparency as much as we like. But let's leave this as this, and we want to take out this data labels, this legend here, because there's no more data here. So we just take this off, and we leave the trend line as it is like this. So let's see, is there any other thing we could adjust in terms of the trend line? Let's see. Yeah, the color. So we want to make this trend line to be red color, right? So let's click on this red color, and let's see. Not this. We're supposed to select the trend line here. We're going to format the trend line. So this is going to be the trend line. We're going to format the trend line. Let's make it red color. So now we formatted our trend line, and then it's showing just red color. So there are many other formatting that we may want to do to this particular chart, but I think this is pretty okay. So next is for us to see, okay, we've answered this particular question. We want to answer the next question, which is the Q4 sales. Remember, what is this question is top sales restaurant has spent a lot on promo on product, and they would like to know which products were the highest in Q4. So this is where your understanding of how the year runs. So in your company, definitely Q4 is going to be the last quarter in a year, because when you have a year and you divide it into quarter, the 12 months in a year divided by 4, that means you have 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. So the last 4 months is going to be our Q4, which is going to be December, November, October, and September. So now let's come over here. This is where we want our chart to appear to answer this question. So we have to still come back to our sales data. And when we come over to our sales data, we're going to come to insert, and then we'll come to pivot table. So this time around, let's try the other way around. The other time we tried to use pivot chart and pivot table. Now let's just insert just pivot table alone. And then we come over to existing. And whenever we come to existing, we're going to select this, and then we come over to our column chart. We click on the cell we want it to appear, and then we click on this back, and we click on OK, and we have just pivot table appearing here. Now that we've inserted our pivot table in the sheet that we want it to appear, we may now have to think about the fields that we want to appear in the pivot tables. So to show the key for sales, we definitely need the product, so we're going to drag the product here to the rows. So the next is that we'll definitely need the cost, because that's what shows the sales, the sum of the sales, which is going to be in sum. Remember, if you don't want to work with sum, you can just come here and come to value field settings and change it to average or whatever. But here, sum suffice for what we want to do. Next is that we want to also split this in the columns by the dates. And then this we have from January, February, March, April, May, June, July. But we are interested in the quarter 4. So you can already select all of this, and then you right click here to hide, so you won't have to see all of this anymore. So you could see you just have September to October. However, we could just undo this. We don't need it. And remember, we don't need this total. We don't need to show the grand. You don't need the grand total. And we also need to just change the dates in the columns. We just want to show just the months. So we have to take this off, remove the field, and we'll also remove this field here, and then we have just the month. So the next thing we have to do to this pivot table before we create our chart is to add currency to this. All we need to do is to just come to number format and then click on currency, and then it's already selected as pounds. We want it in pounds, so we select this. So we could as well just reduce this zoom, and then remember, you can remove the grand total. Look at the grand total. There are a couple of ways to remove the grand total that so the easiest way is just to right click on this, and then you're going to see remove grand total. And once you click this, grand total is gone. You come over here, the same thing, you click on this, and you're going to see remove grand total, and we take a grand total. So the next thing here is that we want to adjust our data to just show September to October. So we can already filter by these column labels here by just selecting just the month that we want: December, November, October, September, and then we'll leave this and we have this. Alternatively, you can hide all the cells there, but this is more efficient, and you can also do that in the chart itself. So next is for us to include our chart. So we can either come over here to design, and then we could just come over to pivot table analyze, and then we're going to see where it says pivot chart, and it automatically inserts pivot chart. But remember, the short key is Alt and F1, and automatically this has created a line chart for us. So is this the line chart that we want to see? We may want to see the month to appear here and the product to appear as the legend. So for us to do this, all we need to do is just use the switch column feature, which we can find under the design here. And once you just click on switch rows to a column, it automatically switch, brings September, October, November. However, you can also do that from here. Remember, the pivot table, what you have in your pivot table and in your chart correspond with the fields that you have here. So you can see now, if we switch this back here now, the months go back to the legend. So you can as well just drag toggle this, but instead of doing this, you can just click on this and then we have this. So this is exactly what we wanted. So, but another thing we want to do is that we want this to end at maybe 16,000 because the space here is much. But first, we also want to remove the grid lines. So let's come over here and then we click here to remove the grid lines. Then next, we want to have click on this so that the axis title is going to appear. So the chart title, sorry. So we want to have chart title to appear. So the next, remember what we did the other time is just to come to the function bar, use the equal to sign, and then select the title here, and then you hit enter, and this automatically selects. So we want to use the same theme color, so we're going to fill this, and then we're going to select just this to make it white, and then we're going to increase it to 18 and say. So you can see, because when you're visualizing your data, you need to ensure uniformity in what you do. See, here we have 14, the other way we have 18, so let's try 16 here. So, and then we'll bring this back to become 16. So everything is going to be uniform. So here we have 16. So next is we want to remove this field. We probably don't need it. Remember, assuming you don't want to show just September to December, we can just come over here and add it already. So there are multiple ways for you to filter your data set with pivot tables or pivot charts. So let's take this out. And then next is we may want to just take this out quickly, and we just come to hide all fields button on chart, and then this automatically hides it. So we'll do this formatting here, and then we click on OK, and then we'll make this to be 10, just same way we did the other time, and then we do the same thing here, and then we'll make this to be 10 as well, and then we could just come over here, we could select this, and then we double click on this, and then we set this maximum here. Instead of to be 18, we could just make it to be 16. And we press enter, and yeah, this changes. So this is a little bit more better. So there are many other formattings you could do to this particular data set. You could just right click here, and then you could fill this color here, the color of the entire chart. So you can see, so you could just fill it, but we're just going to leave this as it is, right? So we are done with this. So let's go to the next one. So the next one here is the tip top taste profit. But when you look at your sales data, there's nothing here that has to do with profit. So that means you have a bit of calculations that you have to do. So assuming when cleaning your data, you've already omitted this part. You don't have to come over to this data. You can directly do it in the pivot table. That's one of the other advantages of using pivot tables and pivot charts for creating your dashboard. You can easily add calculated fields. We're just going to insert our pivot chart to the next chart, which is the bar chart here. So now that we have our pivot table and our bar chart, so let's see what we need to put here to just show our profits. So we need to check, we want to see the profit by what? The amount of profit generated from each product. So we only need two parameters, which is just the product and then profit. However, we don't have our profit here. So how do we do that? So what we can do is that we could just come over here to our pivot table, come over to pivot table analyze, and you're going to see field items and sets, and you're going to see the calculated field. And once you come over to calculator field, we're going to do our calculation, and we call this profit. So the profit here is going to be revenue minus you double click or you select and then click on insert field. But so once you do this, minus cost, then you add and then you click on OK. So these are automatically calculated the profit for us. So the next thing we want to do is also add format, number format to this, so that it's going to be in currency, and then you can also adjust the decimal place, but let's just leave it as it is, and then we click on OK. So if you don't want the decimal place to appear, we could just take it out. So we have it all appeared here already, so we can just leave it. But if you don't want it, you could just still come over to number format. You come to number format, and then number of decimal places, you just put 0 and you see it automatically goes away. So we're going to do that for every other thing. So number formatting, and then this is going to be 0. So now that we've formatted our pivot table, and then the next is for us to format our charts. So we want to format the charts. Before we proceed, it may be best for us to just sort this by largest to smallest. So we're going to have it this way, or we sort it by smallest to largest, depending on how you want it. So I may want it to just show sort by largest, smallest to largest. So like this kind of looks more trendy. Yeah, that's the word. So next is we want to do the same thing here that we've been doing, which is to remove all this field, right? So we select one of the field and then we right click, and then it's going to be hide all fields in the button chart. Then we come over to our customize here. So we add, we remove the grid lines, and then we could also remove the legend, right? Because we don't need the legend this time around. And then we also add this title, but we're just interested in one part of it, which is going to be the vertical. And here we call this sum of sales. In case you forget to do this, don't worry. Even in your dashboard, you can as well do it. This is just the most important part for you. So here, instead of typing, remember, just come over here, just equal to, and then we'll select this, and then we'll click on OK, and this automatically select. We do this, and then we change to this formatting, and then we'll make this system to be uniform. Yeah. So next we go to the last here, which is going to be the pie chart here. So the pie chart is to answer what question is the number of orders generated by each customer. Keep names of customer anonymous. So if it wants us to keep the name of customers anonymous, it simply means that we have to make use of the customer ID. So to use the customer ID, all we need to do is just insert our dashboard here, insert our pivot table in the pie chart here. Now that we have our pivot table, the next is for us to do the calculation, which is going to be the count of the order ID with respect to the customer ID. So we want to have our customer ID here as the categories, customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then by the side here, we want to have the order ID for us to know, since the order ID is unique for each of the orders. So we just put here, and then it's going to be the count. And then this shows. But we won't want this to be in a bar chart. So we want to change this chart type to, let's say, something like pie charts, or better still a donut chart. I really love donuts, so let's go for donut charts. So the next thing is that you could do of your formatting same way that we do that formatting, but here let's do formatting a different way. We could just come over to select here, and then you're going to see the style. You could select a particular style that you want here. So let's say we like the style here. Let's say you want the style, you could just select the style. And once you select the style, there's one important thing here you could also do here. In your color here, you could change the color as much as you like, and then you could also format the data label. So when you click on this arrow, you're going to see callouts. If you click on this callout, it's just going to show us the customer ID. So you probably don't need to have the legend. So we're going to call it out. So it may make your whole data crowdy, but let's try it out, and you put it here. So if you untick this legend, it goes out. So you probably don't need the legend for that. So but let's leave this legend here, and then let's remove the callout. So we just come back here to our data labels. So I just first mentioned that because it was not mentioned in the previous lesson. So we could just remove this callout by clicking again, and then the callouts, we could just come to more options here, and you see a lot of other things that you've done here. So once you uncheck this category name, the callout actually removes. If you don't want it as percentage, you could just untick here, but we want to see the percentage. right? So you could do a lot of other formattings from here. So let's just assume we are all done here, and then we don't want this. We were going to hide all of this, hide all fields. Okay, we could hide this one here, and then we'll put this our value here, which is going to be equal to this here, and then we'll press enter. We just want to make it a bit smaller, for instance here. Then we do this, and then we do this. So now we have the customer ID. So if we don't like this, we can just take this out. We can just take this legend out, and then look at this title here. When you look at this here, you could just maybe do this, and then more options here. How do you want it to appear? Automatic and all of that. The text options. So no line, text field. You want this here. You could select, do a lot of other things that you want. You could want to insert a text box here if you want it to just appear. So we could just put it at the bottom if you want, and then we click on enter. So it move button. So now that we have all our charts ready, so let's build our interactive dashboard. And when we're done building, we can share it to our manager, and the manager will only see the dashboards and will not see all other things that we do. So let's see how we do that. So the first thing here, you will have to come to our sales dashboard. So this is where you have the opportunity to do some other arrangement that you like. So you may just start away by either coming over here and highlighting, make just by filling this the portion you want to appear for the dashboard as with, fill it with white, or and then you could even as well add a borderline to it, or better still, just for this, you could just come over here and to come over to view and then remove the grid lines. We have this. So the next first thing for us to do is to start copy our charts. So we copy our charts and then we paste. So this is where those that actually like to format, to prepare which text box is anything going to appear, this is where it works, right? So you could just come over here. We could make this, okay, we could leave this to show our trend line. We leave this as big as it is here, and then we can come over to our line charts, our column charts here. We could just copy this by using Control Z, Control copy. We can copy this by Control C, and then we come to our dashboard, and then we have here, and then we click on another place here. We have Controls. Now we may decide to just make this to be smaller, and if we make this to be smaller, you may have to adjust the size of this. So if you want this to be smaller, so you could just drag this one here, and then bring this one here. So we could make this bigger if we want to, and then we could just have this here, and then we could just have another chart at the bottom here. So we could just have another chart here. So we could just have another chart here and then another one here. So remember, we're going to add slicers because it's going to be what, interactive. So that's the beauty of this. It has to be what, interactive. So we just make this to be smaller. And then next is for us to just come over here and see our bar chart. So we're going to copy our bar chart, and then we're going to we're going to paste our bar chart also here. So we may want to just do this here for our bar chart, like this. So how you arrange your dashboards is all dependent on you. So majorly 3 to 4 images are okay, honestly. So like imagine here, this is just beautiful. We could just have our sliders arranged here, and then that's all. But we have 4 charts. We need to answer the questions that our manager wants us to answer. So we could bring this a bit smaller. We'll bring this a bit smaller, and then we could just bring this one, could make this smaller, and then extend this one a bit, extend this one a bit. You can see it's not really showing well, so make it smaller. We make this smaller, so So now that we've formatted the other side, so we bring this here, we'll make this bigger, and then we come to our pie chart here. So we come over to our pie chart and we come here, and then we'll just paste. Remember not to paste on existing charts. You just have to click on empty place. Then you drag this here, and then we make this to be small. And then we could just take out make this title here to be okay, we can make this to be bigger like this. We could just do this so we have it aligned together. So we could as well select just this chart, make this chart alone to be bigger. Okay, and we could even adjust the arrangement here. So yeah. So now that we have our, remember there are many other kind of formattings that you may like to do with your dashboard. So the next thing we may want to do right now is to add slices. Is to add what? Slices. So for us to add slices, all you need to do is come over to click on any of these charts. You come to pivot chart analyze, and then you're going to insert slicer. So we want to insert 2 slicers or 3. So first we want to insert a timeline. So we want to be able to filter the whole activity by the timeline, which is going to be the months. So which is going to be the date here. We select our date and then we click here. So you can see this timeline here. So we bring our timeline here. So we bring this smaller. So we may want to look at this timeline now. So we may want to make it longer. So we can just select here and then we may just want to do this for our timeline. So it all depends on you. If you want it to be longer, you could put your timeline at the top. So now that we have our timeline, the next thing we may want to do here is to also insert another slicer, which is going to be by selecting this here now. So this slicer here, if you just click on this February, it filters remove. So it filters here, but this is just showing only September and October, remember. So our slicer here will just filter. If you want to see just December alone, you click on December. And if you want to see November alone here, you're going to show just November. October alone is just going to show for October. So, and if you want to take out the filter, you click on this and then it shows for everything. But remember, this is only filtering this. So we may want to edit the interactions for this to filter everything in this data set. So for us to do this is just to come here, right click, select the timeline, right click, and you see report connections. And in report connection, you see all the charts that we have on this dashboard. So if you wanted to filter all the charts on this dashboard, you can just select this, but we don't want it to filter this particular data set here because it's already be pre-filtered to show September, October, November, December. So we don't want it to filter this here, which is the column chart. Let's click OK, and then we click on OK. So if you select October now, it filters every other thing to show for October. If you select for this here also, is going to filter everything here. As you can see, the data set is changing. So we may want to remove this. And at the same time, we don't want it to filter the timeline also. We just want it to filter this one here. So let's come over to our timeline. Let's come over to our report connections again. And then we select here. Where is the timeline? Which is the line chart. We don't want to filter the line chart. So we'll leave this. Now that we have our filter, so the next thing we want to do is we want to insert a slicer. We would like to be able to filter this dashboard, making use of just the product. So we're going to insert our slicer here. So remember, select the chart, any chart here, and then you come over to pivot analyze. Under pivot analyze, you see slicer this time around. The other time we inserted a timeline. So we're going to insert slicer. And what slicer do we want to insert? We want to insert slicer of product. And then we have our product here. All you need to do is just to drag it to where you want it to appear. And you may want it to just align with this to fit with this, and then we'll bring this here. And once we have this, we have our product. So this is filtered by product. And once you click burger, It filters this to just show the trend line for just burger alone. So you want to clear out the filter, you click on this. So if you want this to filter all of this data set this time around, we want this to filter all the data sets. So you come over to report connections and you're going to select all of this. And once you select all of this, you click on OK. And once you click on OK, you click on Coke. Now you can see it filters all of this to just show for Coke. So this is really, really beautiful. And at the same time, since my manager mentioned, since my manager mentioned customer ID, I would like to filter by customer ID as well. So let's add another slicer for come to select here, and then we're going to come to pivot analyze, and then we're going to insert a slicer, and the slicer here is just going to be the customer ID, and we'll click on this customer ID, and you see we have just our 5 customers ID here. So we select this customer ID and then we put it here, and then we may decide to just expand this by this way. So it's important you allow your dashboard to align. So you have to take your time and spend your time in terms of formatting this properly. Before we try to share this our report to our dashboard, we have received a new data set. And this data set is another new customer which was omitted initially. So these are the data for the customers. So, and then we want it to reflect here in the dashboard. Remember, we have just 7 customers. Now we have another customer called Hamza. I want to input the data set for this customer. So all you need to do is just to copy our data. You can also make use of the formula to just append this by just appending it using Power Query or whatever. But just for us to understand this better, you could just Ctrl V here. Now we've added to our data set. Does that mean we have to start our data analysis from beginning? No, we don't have to. All you need to do is come to our dashboard here, and once we come to pivot analyze here, we're going to see refresh, and we're going to see refresh all, and everything is going to refresh, and you see this changes automatically to 8. Okay, remember this particular dashboard here, we need to make it to report connections. Let us filter everything. So now we do this. So we could just use this to filter everything now, and everything filters. And what we've just added has appeared in our data set. So now that we have our pie charts, we have our now that we have created our dashboards and it is interactive and it has answered all the questions that our manager wants us to share, it is time for us to share our report with him. But just before then, you may want to just hide by all of these individual charts. So we may just want to hide all of this by selecting it and then right click and then you click on hide, and all of this will not appear. So it's just going to be the data, which is the full data as we have here, the problem statement which your manager sent to you originally, alongside with the sales dashboard. So this is the only thing that your manager is going to see. No one else is going to see what you've already eaten. So, and you can remember, you can unhide it by just coming over here and then right click and then you unhide, right? So you could see unhide here and you unhide. But now it's not time for us to share this dashboard with our manager. The most important thing for you to do is you can just come over here to the share button and then you share. But before then, remember that you could make use of the analyze data here. So you could make use of the analyze data to answer some of the questions that you want to. Like here now, you can see we've made an extensive video on analyze data. So some of the answers to the questions that you wanted, you can find them here. There are plenty of it here. It has about 35 results. You may feel free to explore. This is revenue by day of the week and customer name. You can as well ask your question like show products by costs, and then you enter, and this is what you have here. So this is just exactly what you want here. And if this is a pivot chart, if you want to start something else, you can instruct it. So it's just like your chat GPT in Excel. Please refer to the full video on pivot tables. And at the same time, you could make use of this here, which is going to be the recommended pivot tables. So but then you can just select recommended pivot tables. You can see cost by customer name, which is the same thing as what we have. The only difference is just that we change this to customer ID because our customer doesn't want that. So this is all revenue by customer ID and product. So you can feel free to explore that, but we have made an extensive video for you. So That's just a bonus, additional bonus. So now for you to share this to your manager, all you need to do is come over to share here and you click on share. And once you come over here to share, you can see this. I'm using a personal account because most of you have a personal account, but I can as well log into Rookie Analyst account and then we could share it with all the participants in Rookie Analyst. But because of other viewers that are viewing this from YouTube, so you may want to just share this and then you select your personal. So if it's organization, you select the email for your organization. And once you share, you can see here is anyone could edit. All you need to do this time around is just to copy this link and you're going to share with your manager. So I'm going to leave this link in the description below and you can click on the link and you can already view this dashboard that we created. So, and that's a wrap. And I hope you found this beginner lesson very intuitive and insightful. And I hope by now you're already a rookie analyst. Please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and stay tuned for more insightful lessons, tutorial, course series that will increase your data analysis game and general trend in the use of AI. Thank you and see you in the next video.